want to watch them, man.
Now, the arrangement is that we do so, and it is then transmitted to your office for your action. So, is the delay in, because sometimes the request comes in respect of a trip that lasts for, say, 2 days. So, I have all the evidence of my electronic transmitter to the office of the clerk, and then it is further ferried to your office for action. So, but what we are doing, we are correcting the votes, and once we correct it and adopt it, then it is gone. So members have come to see me regarding this matter just today. So my intention was to engage the clerk after today's procedure and see how we can streamline things. If the procedure can be shortened, then we can ferry directly to your office for action, or if somebody can be designated. Yes. No, that's what I do.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if that is the new procedure, because if you pick up the form, it's for the caucus leadership to recommend, and then the next portion is the speaker. There's no column for the clerk. Maybe if we get further clarification from it, because my understanding and the practice have always been the case that if leaders endorse, it goes to the speaker. The speaker elects based on communication to us, other of the deputy speakers working on it. So I don't know, Majority Chief Whip, if maybe our info, because when we endorse, we know it goes to either of the speakers. But in the form, it says the speaker, and then it goes there. I don't think the clerk have a role to play on it based on what has been provided on the form.
Mr. Speaker, I was very clear in what I said. It's about procedure of submission to Speaker's office. I'm saying the procedure I inherited, and what I agreed with clerk was that when we endorse the forms and you stamp it, it is ferried. Yes, you recommend, actually. When you recommend for approval, it is ferried to the clerk's office for onward transmission for Speaker's approval or otherwise. We don't send it directly to Speaker's office. So this can be streamlined. I don't think we can litigate this matter. I didn't indicate that the clerk has a role to play by signing a portion, or there's a portion indicated for his signature or otherwise. I'm only talking about
honorable members, you don't need to split hairs over this. How many of you seated here have your copies of the standing orders? Yes. Yes, I can see. Yes. Please, standing orders, it could be on your phone or whatever. Can you all read Order 15? Order 15. Then you judge for yourselves which of your leaders is right. I think on a daily basis, I have to be conducting an exam on these standing orders. For the sake of the public, I'm going to read it because it's a thorny issue here. Leave of absence, Order 15, Rule 1. A member shall attend sittings of the House unless the Speaker grants leave of absence to the member in writing. Are we clear? You grant the permission in writing. Rule 2. A member seeking to be absent shall complete a leave of absence form as specified in the second schedule. Rule 3. The leave of absence form may be obtained from the office of the clerk, the table office, or the office of the chief whip of the caucus of the member. Rule 4. A member shall submit the completed leave of absence form to the chief whip of the caucus of the member not later than 72 hours prior to the intended date of absence. 72 hours is how many days? Is how many days? 3 days. The chief whip of the caucus of that member shall, not later than 24 hours after receipt, transmit the completed leave of absence form with recommendation to the Speaker for consideration, not to any clerk, to the Speaker for consideration. The Speaker may, within 24 hours of receipt, grant the leave of absence to a member who shows sufficient cause. It's not automatic. So if you submit a leave of absence form to me and state that you are visiting your girlfriend, I should grant you leave of absence. Your girlfriend is sick. So please, Rule 7 says, Rule 7, the office of the Speaker shall, within 24 hours after the decision of the Speaker, transmit the decision to the member through the office of the clerk. The decision of the Speaker shall be recorded in the votes and proceedings. This is the procedure. So if the clerk's office don't receive a written permission from the Speaker, they cannot submit it to the table office for it to be captured. And we've given timelines for all this to be done. In fact, I'm surprised with this mention of the electronic copies that are transmitted to the clerk, and the clerk is to forward them to the speaker. I'm surprised.
Speaker,
Yes.
that is the procedure.
Which rule says so? You are a lawyer.
Speaker, yes, Speaker. Order 15, Rule 1 up to 8 that you just read.
Yes.
Now, the issue is with when we are done as whips. When we are done as whips. Because practically, it's not every time that, Speaker, you are in situ. And yet the approval must come. So I recall vividly my discussion with clerk. So we transmit. Once the approval comes, we transmit. He made the point that he's able to communicate with you electronically sometimes. So even though you are not here, it can be done. Approval can be given. And it's more expeditious than me carrying a file of, let's say, 15 leave of absence recommended forms, coming to your secretariat. You are not available, you are unavoidably not around, and we leave it. Meanwhile, the 72 hours is ticking. So these are administratively enhanced means of getting the approvals readily done. Speaker, I don't think that it varies or it departs from what the procedure provides at all. It's about the means of ferrying the recommended leave of absence applications to you expressly.
Your focus is on the electronic, the mode, but I'm talking about the person. Well, your earlier submission was that you forward it to the clerk, who then sends it to the speaker. And I'm saying it's not so by the rules. In fact, that was what Honorable Habib also stated, that it is direct from you, the Chief Whip, to the speaker, not to clerk. It's when the speaker grants the permission that the speaker then sends it to the clerk, because the table office is under the clerk. That's part of the office of the clerk. And that is after the speaker has agreed with you that you've shown sufficient cause to be granted the permission. And that's why I cited that if you write to tell me that you are going to visit your girlfriend, I should give you permission. You think I should give you? Even if she is sick, you cannot. I won't grant you that permission. Please, just follow the procedure. And if you see that, because we put structures in place, I don't need to be present. And I've communicated to you, leaders, as to who I have put in charge of that process. May we move on now? Page 8. Yes.
Mr. Can I take you back to page 7? Page 7, item 50. I was marked absent, but I was on the committee work outside the office.
So follow the same guidance I gave to the earlier ones. Follow up and see whether you were granted permission to absent yourself.
Thank you, Mr.
If you were granted, then you draw the attention of the table office to rectify the error. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 6th sitting dated Friday, 31st October 2025, as corrected, are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, it's not the 6th sitting, it's the 8th. The 8th sitting, not the 6th. I don't have any copy of the official report. And so we proceed to the next item on the order paper. That is item 7. Questions? Yes, Minority Leader.
Speaker, with respect, I would want to bring an important matter to your attention and to that of Leader of Government Business. Mr. Speaker, we have a piled up of questions, and unfortunately for us, we are getting a lot of letters from ministers. I'm not available, I'm not available, I'm not available. Mr. Speaker, I would want to use the opportunity to plead with Leader of Government Business to see to this matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, if members have their questions some time bound and ministers are not available, and it's all about I'm not available, and some of these letters come the last minute and it get communicated to leadership, it makes life quite difficult. Mr. Speaker, the ministers owe a responsibility to this House. Mr. Speaker, I will not belabor.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we discussed the issue of scheduling ministers at Business Committee on Thursday, and we agreed that we should always try to ensure ministers are aware before we schedule them. And if they are not available, they can indicate a convenient date. And so I have not received letters. In fact, I've just received communication from the Minister for Roads, who we all know is very punctual and comes to answer all questions, that, for instance, tomorrow he has some questions, but he has to be in Solar Tuna Kalba area for salt cutting, so he will not be able to make it. He wants his questions rescheduled to Thursday. So those type of indications come. The minister who is scheduled to answer questions today was supposed to come last week, but then she requested that we schedule her today, and today she is here to answer all the questions. Mr. Speaker, I think that we have been doing well with scheduling questions. All questions are being asked. Indeed, last week, there was even a question asking the minister how many shrines we have in Ghana. You know, and there was a question about the number of shrines we have in Ghana. You were not there. Your side had opportunity to ask all sorts of questions, including how many shrines are in Ghana. And the minister was here to answer to the question of how many shrines are in Ghana. So I can assure you that the ministers are always available to answer questions. If they cannot make it for some reason, they have to write. And when they notify us, we reschedule them. So I don't think there's a problem with ministers, showing up to answer questions. It's normal business. If you are not available, you write, and they write.
Yes.
Speaker, ordinarily I wouldn't have come in because the two leaders have related to the subject matter. Just to put a bit of, for want of a better expression, a twist on it, because I've sat in the business committee and this matter has come back and forth. and the majority leader will concede that the trust of the minority leaders concerned is a trend that is increasingly emerging. Speaker, this House has the powers to determine when ministers should be in this House to respond to questions, not the reverse. And Speaker, the trend emerging is that the questions go through the process, and I must commend the table office doing a wonderful job. And all we hear is that I'm not available, I'm not available. Fine. You can write to communicate to this House that you are not available, but it will take this House to tell you whether your reasoning will be acceptable to this House or not. What is happening now? And he mentioned the road minister. In fact, as for the road minister, in fact, if there is any minister who is always in the chamber, with the greatest respect to my colleagues who are ministers, the road minister is always here. We are not overly simplifying this matter and revolving it around the road minister. And majority leader, look into my eyes and listen. Listen to me. Majority leader, listen to me today. When the majority leader talks about a member asking questions about a number of shrines, do you know what you are seeking to do? And that's very typical of him. He will try to trivialize the matter and then off we go. No. No. Because the time for the ministers to respond to questions has to be determined by this House. Why? You want to take over our oversight powers? You want to take it?
Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
So this matter, we will have to exhaust it. We will have to exhaust it. So I'm simply saying that we must set the date, and that has been the practice of this House. And where the ministers cannot attend upon the House, they must write. That is the basic process and practice. The ministers might write to us, and the House will determine whether to accept or not. Where the minister cannot come, his or her deputy should be able to come to this House. So we have questions piling up, a number of questions that are piling up, and we are not getting answers. It's worrying. Majority leader, maybe we may have to reflect on this matter more at the business committee and develop a way out. We cannot leave these questions hanging. No, it cannot be. And not, no, I'm not, yes, no, we will allow, it's a matter we have to talk about. We will allow our colleague, our respected minister, we will allow her. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm inviting you to direct, and the powers of the business committee are defined. The business committee cannot take a decision for plenary. No, we cannot. You can only come with a proposed program subject to an endorsement by plenary. So, majority leader, with respect to you, when you say that the business committee, you know, you are a respected lawyer, we respect you. You are going beyond your powers. So, the business committee will have to look at this matter again. And we insist, we on this side of the House insist. Not too long ago, you were here. You were asking all the questions. Why are you shielding the ministers? I want to look into the eyes of the majority leader, Mr. Majority Leader. Why are you shielding your ministers? You said you have achieved so much within 1 year. Come and answer questions. You are writing all manner of excuses. Within a week, we have received so much of excuses. Why? Maybe the Mr. President should be looking at the first reshuffle. So far, so many. The ministers must come and attend upon this House and respond to questions coming from the people's representatives. We on this House cannot take it lightly. So, majority leader, now you are looking into my eyes. We will be expecting the ministers to respond, and they must respond.
Leader, I think the minister is here.
The minister is here, yes, but the majority leader must tell us something.
You should know your friend Kwame Buja is also sitting here.
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm not talking about the road minister. The road minister is an exception. He knows. In terms of his presence in this House and delivery. the road minister, even though my road is not done, that's fine. But he's always here. The road minister is always here. So, Majority Leader, I beg you, we may have to look at this matter again at the business committee and maybe structure a roadmap.
Yes, Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in all this, he hasn't displayed to this House one single letter asking for extension of time by any minister. Not one single letter. He has not shown one single letter. And yet he has said more than 100 times since he was on his feet that ministers write letters asking for postponement. He hasn't shown one single letter from a minister asking for postponement. Evidence. You see, the reputation of a whole group is at stake here. That is the ministers. Some of the highest placed appointments in the country. And when you stand here and say that when they are asked questions, they write letters seeking postponement and etc., stating that they are unavailable, and you don't display one single letter, it's not good. It's not fair to them. So please, show me the letters. No letters. And I'm not saying that you ask trivial questions. No. I didn't say that. No. I'm saying that you are free to ask all sorts of questions. And that you even asked a question about the number of shrines in Ghana. I said last week, you wanted the Minister for Local Government to tell us how many shrines we have in Ghana. And the minister came here and gave an indication that he didn't know the number of shrines we have in Ghana. I'm giving an indication of the type of questions you ask and how those questions are transmitted to the ministers, and the ministers come and answer those questions. I'm not trivializing your questions. You ask a question about how many shrines we have in Ghana. And the Minister for Local Government, Rural Development and Religious Affairs left his office, came here and answered the question. So please, ministers do show up and answer questions. Where they are unavailable, they indicate that because they also have responsibilities. And I just gave you an example. The Minister for Roads and Highways is sitting here. He is scheduled to answer questions tomorrow. Then he has to go and do sword cutting in the Savannah region. And so he's just asking me if I can reschedule his questions to Thursday. And I just agreed with him. He says, I said he should write. And he's written. But when there's good cause, the rules are clear. Let me just read the rules again. Rule 77. 1, 2, 3. A minister, a member, or the head of an independent constitutional body shall by order of the House, attend a sitting of the House to answer a question. Question time shall ordinarily not exceed 1 hour, except that the Speaker may permit a question after the expiration of the time stated. Rule 3 is, sub-rule 3 is where I really want to focus on. A minister, a member, or the head of an independent constitutional body shall not take more than 3 weeks, upon receipt of a question from the House to respond to the question. So ministers have 3 weeks upon receipt of the question. And if you recall, at the last business committee meeting, you were not there, but at the last business committee meeting, I raised the issue of whether or not the table office deal directly with the ministers or with their staff. I raised that issue at the meeting. Yeah. You recall? Yeah. And they confirmed that they have a scheduled officer at the ministry that they deal with. And I said, how sure are you that when you deal with the scheduled officer, the minister has actual notice of the question and the time scheduled for the minister to come and answer the question? And they admitted that there was no guarantee that when you deal with a scheduled officer, the minister does have notice.
At that meeting, I said, let us make it a practice as a committee, business committee, that we will always call the ministers and let them know that we have scheduled them on certain days so that they are aware. And there and then, we started calling the ministers. And the ministers did confirm that they didn't know about the pendency of those questions or the schedule of those questions. And for some of them, the dates that we scheduled were not convenient. So we directly engaged them and rescheduled it to dates that was convenient, including the minister who is here today. Access, she's here. We called her, and she said she wasn't available the date that we scheduled her. We asked when she'll be available. She gave today. That's how come all her questions have been scheduled, and she is here. So the issue has always been the way that we do business. Because the rule says the minister should be the one that should have notice of the question, and he's the one that must come, and he has 3 weeks to come. But when we run our practices in a way that the person that should have notice doesn't have notice, you can't blame that person for not coming. That is the issue that the speaker just addressed, where even leave of absence, the communication does not get to the person who is supposed to grant the leave. So let's also iron out our practices and our procedures so that we can comply strictly with our rules. So we cannot say that the ministers are not coming to answer questions and that they are always, asking for change of dates and etc. Because the rule is that we engage them, we agree with them when they can come, but then they have 3 weeks within which they must come. Those are the issues. Mr. Speaker, the minister is here. I think that the rule is clear. We shouldn't exceed 1 hour of question time, except with your discretion or leave. So let's have the minister answer the questions. These issues, you and I should take them up at business committee meetings and resolve them. It's the province of business committee.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker, not to belabor the point, just to establish one fact, and I see colleagues, my respected Honorable Jinapo wants to speak. You see, the point must be made that we on this side appreciate the fact that we can disagree to agree, and we should get practical. Leader, there are times you engage us and say that, I recall not too long ago, we had to reduce the number of follow-ups as a result of our engagement at the business committee. It was because of the exigencies of the business that we had at that time. Our problem is that it is against our practice for the table office to be told that you must seek the availability of the minister before you schedule the question. That is wrong. Parliament must schedule the question and the ministers must respond. For instance, where the road minister, you were citing an example of the road minister. There are times we even reschedule at conclave without necessarily receiving a formal correspondent from the minister. So, majority leader, get the point that we are with you. We want businesses to be done. We want to get clinical. But Parliament cannot be at the discretion of the executive. No, that cannot be.
It cannot.
No. It cannot be.
It cannot.
We must schedule. And our scheduling is not based on the availability of the minister. When we schedule and leader, listen to me. When we schedule and the ministers are not available, it's their duty to write to Parliament. Otherwise, our oversight will be undermined. So I'm saying that to say that we should seek the availability of the minister before we schedule, that is wrong and it's against our practice. And the business committee cannot make that determination for plenary. That is where I want to revert the mind of the majority leader so that we can make progress. Where the ministers for the minister is engaged and he cannot come, sometimes they don't even write. They call us the leaders. And we have often acceded to it. So, leader, don't get it wrong. We are not saying that even where the minister cannot come, we are insisting that the minister should be here. No. Where there are genuine reasons, we are reasonable to know that we have to accede to those reasonable grounds being given. But when it becomes like Parliament must call the minister must accede before this scheduling is done, that for me is against the practice. and we'll be undermining our oversight as an arm of government. That's my simple view. Yeah.
Coming up, Bank of Ghana orders unlicensed mobile loan and digital credit firms to regularize operations by June 2026 or face sanctions. And this is Biz Briefing on TV3 with me, Michael Obodu. Before we bring you the big one, we'll turn our attention quickly to the currency and the commodities market and bring you updates. Well, basically, the dollar currently will be bought from you at 10 cedis 89 pesos, sold to you at 10 cedis 90 pesos. The pound will be bought from you at 40 cedis 31 pesos, sold to you at 14 cedis 32 pesos. The euro will be bought from you at 12 cedis 55 pesos, sold to you at 12 cedis 56 pesos. I'll be guided that these figures will be much higher at a forex bureau near you. We'll turn our attention now quickly to the commodities front and bring you updates on how major commodities are trading, including gold, crude oil, and cocoa. Well, the price of crude oil is down by $0.52. It's trading at $64.37 per barrel. Gold is down by $51.15. It's trading at $3,949 per ounce. Cocoa is also down by $19, trading at $6,540 per ton. Now, the Bank of Ghana has issued a stern warning to all mobile loan applications and digital credit service providers operating without proper authorization to regularize their activities or risk sanctions. Now, to more stories, a finance expert and chief executive officer of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, has offered a contrasting view on government's recent inability to meet its Treasury bill auction targets, stating that the current undersubscriptions should not be a worry, not aggressively chasing the full target and limiting its borrowing from the domestic market. Jackson argues that government is actively working not to crowd out the private sector.
There's still a lot of interest, but not at the rate at which the government wants to take it. So here's what I say. This has to be good. You see, when there's undersubscription, there's enough left on the table for the private sector. And just maybe it will help the government, it's feedback for the government to look at its rates very carefully. It's maybe time for maybe a correction. But I don't see anything wrong with for the economy. There's enough funds for the private sector to subscribe to. You will see that the financial sector, the banks, are seeking to give out more loans and create more loan assets. You would see that means that there's a little bit more access to finance for our businesses to grow and expand and create employment at a rate which can be competitive. So it's fine. There's nothing wrong. It's okay. The discipline that if it is undersubscribed, they only take what is available and walk away.
So we'll take you back to our earlier story where the Bank of Ghana has issued a stern warning to all mobile loan applications and digital credit service providers operating without proper authorization.
The Bank of Ghana has directed all unlicensed mobile loan and digital credit service providers to regularize their operations by June 30, 2026. In a notice issued on November 3, 2025, the central bank cautioned that entities that fail to comply will face regulatory action, including possible shutdowns and penalties. The directive forms part of efforts by the Bank of Ghana to streamline Ghana's growing digital lending space, curb predatory lending practices, and protect consumers from data misuse and unethical recovery methods. The notice also announced that the central bank has begun accepting applications from firms seeking to operate as digital credit service providers. The Bank of Ghana says all interested entities must submit the required documentation and meet its licensing standards to continue operations within the law. This forms part of the regulator's broader push to strengthen oversight of financial technology companies and enhance consumer protection in the digital finance ecosystem.
Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has strongly advised government to avoid a return to high-cost borrowing as it implements their ongoing fund-supported program to restore macroeconomic stability. The IMF resident representative to Ghana, Dr. Adrian Alter, emphasized the need for extreme prudence in government's borrowing activities.
The IMF resident representative to Ghana explicitly warned against repeating past errors of excessive and expensive debt accumulation. He urged Ghana to prioritize concessional financing, loans with favorable terms from multilateral institutions like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, AFDB, and the IMF itself. Dr. Adrian Alter noted that current global financial conditions, though slightly eased, still mean elevated interest rates in the international capital markets. He observed Ghana's current credit rating could attract rates of around 10% or higher for any international borrowing, making it extremely pricey. The IMF program includes specific limits on external borrowing to ensure debt sustainability and compliance with creditor agreements. The current mix of government financing comprises approximately 70% domestic and 30% external borrowing. In a positive outlook, Dr. Alter disclosed that the fund is supporting efforts to extend the maturity period of domestic debt instruments, which currently average around 1 year. He expressed optimism that the country's domestic bond market could reopen by early 2026, offering a more stable and diversified funding environment. Ghana is currently operating under a 3-year extended credit facility ECF arrangement with the IMF, which is aimed at ensuring debt sustainability and fostering inclusive growth.
Now, ahead of the 2026 budget presentation by the Finance Minister on Thursday, November 13, 3 Business has been interacting with some Ghanaians on their expectations. Here are excerpts.
The minister should be able to encourage the agriculture sector so that those local foods, for example, rice, we can produce rice ourselves and then we add value to it and then we don't have to import. The amount that will be the foreign exchange that will be used to import them. They can use it to, go and put value on it so we all can, consume the local.
My expectations from government is to help us boost economy in the local sectors pertaining agriculture, in how we produce our local foods and then purchase, so that it will boost our economy in this country.
Because looking at some of these stuff that we are importing into the country, a lot of them are being produced here. And if a lot are being produced here, what can we do to ensure that they produce in higher quantity? And I think that is where the 24-hour economy comes in, and I think the government should look at it and then make sure that the 24-hour is being implemented, economy is being implemented.
And that'll be all for Biz Review on TV3. For more business stories, please visit our website, s3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for watching. As always, please stay safe. Up next is News in Brief, and my colleague George is on standby.
Details coming up shortly. Stay with us. My name is George Quinn. It's always a pleasure bringing you news updates, boxed up in News in Brief. On to our very first story. Poor access to water across several communities in the Greater Accra region has become a huge source of worry in recent months. Residents in areas such as Station Ngwa, Springtest, Tema, and Bemakam say water flows only once a week, yet they continue to pay high bills as though it runs daily. Daryl Agboto visited these areas and has further report.
For weeks, taps have run dry in many homes, forcing residents to rely on water tankers and boreholes. In Teshinungwa, some households say uncertainty forces them to wake up at odd hours just to fill buckets and tanks with water.
We've been having a water problem. It comes once every week, probably Thursday. And once it comes Friday, it goes off. I don't know what the problem is. and they are not saying it, no information from Ghana Water Company.
In neighboring Spintex and parts of Tema, the story is no different. Frustrated residents question why they continue to receive high water bills despite the irregular supply.
I'm working at Mecom. This morning we buy 600 cedis water, but still there will be a bill that this is our bill for water, but we still buy water from different sources.
These residents are calling on authorities to communicate clearly and provide immediate relief measures, saying the silence from authorities only adds to their frustration.
Our days to get water is Thursday and Friday, but this is the case about 2 weeks, getting to a month now. The water doesn't come. We are begging government, Mahama should do something about it for us.
According to the Ghana Water Company Limited, recent challenges with treatment plants connected to these communities have led to supply shortfalls and assures residents efforts are in place to increase supply.
Now, unfortunately, we've had some challenges with the owners or operators of the desalination plant. And so now we have shut down the plant. And so both parties have agreed at a certain point that we shut down the plant and then resolve issues, that we continue with operations. So now that the diesel is off, the people in Teshinunga and then the enclave being served by the desalination plant.
Well, before we part company, residents of Sapeman and its adjoining communities have protested the absence of a footbridge in the design on the Ofanko and Sawam Kumasi Highway. Protesters, who were mostly parents, said the situation could further risk the lives of their children who have to use the route on a daily basis to school. The protest led to massive vehicular traffic as protesters kept blocking the movement of vehicles and even vowing to stop ongoing construction of the highway until they are given assurances. Meanwhile, a petition has been presented to the Assembly where the MC for the Ghana West Municipal Assembly, John Desmond Sowa, assured of acting swiftly on their concerns. And now let's listen to the Elder Chief of Sapeman Fase, Togbi Aga Samaglo, who explains that their survival is dependent on the footbridge.
Me sitting down here, I don't have a problem, but I have a problem. My brothers, my sisters, my daughters, my co-mininis who passed there. They didn't finish the road, but you just watch. Go and stand there and watch. They have to get for us. We are pleading. We are not dragging with them, but they should see the environment and then know what they can do for us. Without the footbridge, I don't think we can feel survive here. Everybody plus extension. To me, Togo sitting down here, my life is very important for me. You know, at times if I want to get down, I think twice because anything can happen. And if you are seeing this speed and you wanted to use your mind and pass down, then it's up to you. And I will tell everybody that those who are doing those things, they should stop. It's you yourself selling your life. How can you, these cars, can you go speed more than the car? So they should stop. I'm begging them. The Madina people should stop. That's why if we are pleading or we are lobbying, the government say, oh, no, I will go and waste my money and be carrying dead body and go and these things. But not we all.
Togbi Aga Samaglo is the Elder Chief of Sapeman Fase. And that's how we end News in Brief for today. For more news updates, just log on to our website. It's 3news.com. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Good afternoon.